And even when they tell her that you might not get admitted to the bar based on the character and fitness committee review because your fiance is a fraud and went to prison for it, she literally was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Break up with this man. That's all I keep thinking about. So I recently started watching the show Suits on Netflix, and it is pissing me off. Now I know the show is over and I know it's just a show, but please indulge me as I go on this rant about all the things that are pissing me off about this show. It is sending me through the ringer, and I'm just on season 7. I think I'm almost done with the first episode of season 7, and I couldn't anymore. I literally could not anymore. The show has gotten so ridiculous. It started off so strong, and I love legal drama, so I was excited to see what the show was all about. But I do have some things that I want to say, and I want to know if there's anyone in some corner of YouTube who's watching Suits for the first time and has the same feelings or different feelings. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let's get into it. So ethics aside, this show is just reckless and illogical. The whole premise of the show pisses me off because why did Mike have to be a lawyer? Why couldn't he be a consultant, a paralegal, someone who just worked at the firm under Harvey's apprenticeship while he went to school to become a lawyer? And I know that would mean the show wouldn't exist. The whole point of the show was waiting for the other shoe to drop to find out if people were going to find out if he's a fraud or not. But it just really upset me that they kept forcing this idea that Mike had to be a lawyer. He had to be a lawyer. And I know his childhood was sad and everybody was trying to make sure that his dreams were realized. But at the end of the day, he put so many people in jeopardy. He put so many people's livelihoods at risk by his own selfish need to be a lawyer. And I kept asking myself, why are these partners so willing to risk their careers, their reputations, their livelihood over and over again for Mike? Was it the sob story about his parents being unalived in a car accident when he was 11? Was that the sole reason? It couldn't have been anything besides the fact that they felt sorry for him and they really wanted him to realize his biggest dreams. But I feel like there are so many other things that could have happened and he still would have been able to become a lawyer and not have gone through the dishonorable things that he did or put so many other people in jeopardy. Oh, I gotta calm down because I haven't even started getting into the things that piss me off and I'm already just mad at just the premise of the show in general. So I'm going to go through a couple of things that I picked up on over the last 7 seasons and just talk about it. The first that I'm going to talk about is the downplaying of cheating. This show loves cheaters because every time somebody cheats, they end up being made a victim. There's no accountability. There's a sorry apology that they give. And somehow we're supposed to feel sorry for that person because they had a reason for doing what they did. So we have Sheila who cheated on her husband with Louis Litt. We had Harvey's mom, who was a serial cheater. We had Donna, who kissed Harvey when he was in a relationship, knowing how Harvey felt about his mom's infidelity. So that was a huge blunder. That hasn't happened yet. I saw that somewhere and that's why I'm including it here, but it hasn't happened in the show yet. And I'm even wondering if I'm even going to get to that part because I don't know if I can continue watching this show. We had Jenny who cheated on Trevor with Mike. So the show just loves to talk about cheating as if it's normal. I think Scotty, one of the attorneys, also cheated on her fiance with Harvey when she was in town for a trip. So they just trivialize it. They're like, oh, yep, just cheating, no problem. Cheaters everywhere. The show just normalized that and I did not like that at all. But maybe it was just an underlying theme and it wasn't the biggest thing. So I'm going to move on. This next one, it's recent. It's season 6 that it started coming out. And I thought it was going to be a quick little thing, but it ended up being a plot for multiple episodes. And it was the Donna, this AI secretary assistant that Benjamin, the IT guy, develops and is working on it with Donna because he used her voice that he secretly recorded over 2 years to inform. This idea of this AI assistant was cool for an episode, but then ended up being this whole storyline of Donna trying to get an investor for it, her and Benjamin having meetings with people and trying to get it out on the market. And then they find out that there's too much overlap for a patent and they couldn't get it below the threshold for there not to be like an identical patent. So anyways, she keeps pushing this idea of the Donna and she makes it her whole thing. She's like, well, I've been a legal secretary for so long and I want more. And this Donna gives me the opportunity to do that, which is all fine and dandy. But it ended up being this power trip for her where she finally realizes that she wants more out of life and she pushes Harvey to make her a partner at the firm. In what world would that make sense? The legal secretary becomes a partner. I don't understand this obsession with Donna on the show. I like Donna, don't get me wrong. Well, I liked her up until recently, but I liked her in her role. I think she was a good supporting actress. She had a primary role of being Harvey's shoulder to cry on. She gave him advice. She was there. She knew everything. That was cool. But increasingly she's becoming more of this person that's imposing herself on people. And instead of figuring out how to become important in life in general, her whole life is the firm and her whole life is Harvey. So now she's trying to guilt him into making her partner. And she's using this Donna thing as the scapegoat. She's saying, well, this was my opportunity to become something, and now that I'm not, I want to be partner. I don't understand that for the life of me. I really don't. And this partner is notorious for giving people roles that they don't deserve, or giving people promotions that they don't deserve, or keeping promotions that people do deserve. And this is where I'm going to go on my Louis Litt rant, because Louis Litt got played so many times. I know that he's a controversial character and he's erratic and he's immature and he has all these things going on, but no one can deny that Louis Litt loves this firm. And they always dangling the promotion or the idea of named partner in front of him, and he keeps going for it. But Jessica's like, you're not ready. Harvey is pitting himself up against Louis all the time. And so Louis just ends up living in the shadows of Harvey, and he keeps trying to prove himself and it never works out. So then he gets frustrated and he lashes out, which I will admit is not a quality of a great leader. But Jessica wasn't a great leader either. And Harvey definitely isn't a great leader, because when it comes to ethics, when it comes to morals, when it comes to professional conduct and business, you cannot tell me that Jessica and Harvey had more than Louis Litt did. Louis Litt loved the company. He lived and breathed Pearson Spector, Pearson Hardman, whatever the name is at the time, because it changed so many times, which is also unrealistic for a law firm. But he loved this company so much, and he was willing to dedicate his life to it, and they never gave him the promotion until he had to yank it from them after finding out that they knew that Mike was a fraud and they didn't do anything about it. So yes, he was wrong for not reporting it, for not doing anything about it. He used it to get a promotion. But I feel like, if I've been asking for something for so long, y'all keep telling me I'm not ready, I don't have leadership material, and y'all are out here doing whatever. If I get an opportunity, I might take that opportunity too. So I did not blame Wesley for doing that at all. But I just have to talk about how they kept gaslighting him into thinking that you're not ready and you're lashing out, you keep making mistakes. Harvey made plenty of mistakes. Jessica was never working. I never saw her do anything except sit with a piece of paper, and she never did anything. So how is it that Louis cannot get his promotion, but all y'all are doing whatever y'all want to do? Let me calm down. This other episode pissed me off. Well, it was a series of episodes, but it was leading up to Harvey confronting his mom for her past infidelity. So Harvey's mom was a serial cheater, and Harvey knew about it, and the mom asked him not to tell his father when he was younger. So he had to live with that, knowing that he could not keep the secret, but at the same time, he didn't want to betray his mom. So yeah, I think eventually the dad finds out, but he felt some type of way about it for a long time, up until his father passed away. At the funeral, the mom gives a speech, and she's talking about how Harvey and his brother were his father's pride and joy. But then they go to the house for the wake, and her boyfriend shows up. So Harvey was like, this is disrespectful. You cannot be here. We just put my father in the ground. And so they had a whole kerfuffle about it, and Harvey left and didn't talk to his mom for 8 years. So eventually he, at the advice of Donna, which I didn't agree with that, but she was like, you need to go and make things right with your mom. So he goes to confront his mom and say that he forgave her. And so they have this dinner, and he's telling her, I forgive you for everything that happened. And she's like, I forgive you too. And he's like, forgive me for what? And so they had another fight about it, and she just proved herself to be this unchanged person. Eventually they did make up, because I think Harvey realized he had to let it go for him to be able to move on professionally and personally, because he had a problem with being a serial dater as well, or a womanizer. But it pissed me off because he was not ready to confront her. Donna told him he needs to go do it, so he sucks it up and he goes to do it. She gaslit him, saying, I forgive you too, when he had a right to distance himself after everything that you had done to him, his brother, his father, who's now deceased. And then the brother too was like, you need to understand that this is grandma and you're doing this to the family and blah, blah. That was so wrong, and it really made me feel sad for Harvey. Because Harvey comes off as unemotional, but he really has a lot of feelings that are bottled up inside. And I hated to see him get dogpiled on like that by his mom and his brother, because they couldn't seem to understand why he was so upset that he was the one that had to keep the secret for his mom for so long. That pissed me off. This next one, the feminist in me is going to come out a little bit, but the women on the show constantly put themselves last. It aggravated me to no end that every single time they had their careers or their advancement or their reputation in front of them and love from a man who was shady or wasn't even doing what he was supposed to be doing, they always picked the man. So the first example I have is Scotty is an attorney who was involved with Harvey, and she developed feelings for him. She fell in love with him. Harvey always went to her for favors, always asked her to bend over backwards to make sure that his case went through, even if she had to take an L on her case. And she did it every single time. And she kept just waiting for this idea that Harvey would love her back. Harvey would be in a relationship with her. It doesn't make sense for all these women to continue to pick love with these men who are not committed to them or who are not up to standard when their reputations are on the line, when their careers are on the line. The other example is Rachel and Mike. So that is the big relationship in the show. Mike is the main character and he's in a relationship with Rachel. Rachel is a paralegal that's going back to school. Now, I will say Mike influenced her, or motivated her to go back to school and become a lawyer. That's great. But Mike is also a fraud. He didn't tell her about it in the beginning. So he eventually tells her. And if I was her, I would run the other direction. I would go work for my dad, who is also a lawyer, and be at his firm. But no, she stays. And throughout the seasons, you just see her self-sacrificing all the time. Whatever Mike says, she's on board with. Mike wants to do this, no problem. Mike wants to do that, no problem. She's like, I would live in a shoebox with you if it meant we were happy. I would do this if it meant we were happy. She constantly puts herself in jeopardy. And even when they tell her that you might not get admitted to the bar based on the character and fitness committee review because your fiance is a fraud and went to prison for it, she literally was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Break up with this man. That's all I keep thinking about. I'm cynical in that way. I don't think love is enough for relationships to work out. So I just couldn't seem to understand. I can't seem to gather my thoughts around how every single opportunity you have in your life, you're willing to put on the back burner because of love. And Mike wasn't always good at prioritizing her either. When it comes to making a choice that's going to be self-serving for him, he's going to take that choice for himself. And Rachel comes second. And I just have to think about, she wanted to be a lawyer so bad. She was working as a paralegal. Her dad is a lawyer. She has this background, just like you have a background. So you having this traumatic childhood doesn't mean other people don't have traumatic childhoods or they don't have things that they're going through as well. But he was so obsessed with this idea of being a lawyer that if it means other people don't be lawyers, but he can be a lawyer, then that's good. I didn't like that at all. And then the last example of women putting themselves last is Jessica getting disbarred. Again, I haven't gone to that part in the series, but I know what happens because it got spoiled for me online on Reddit. I need to get off Reddit. But Jessica got disbarred in the state of New York so that Mike could become a lawyer. She showed up to his fitness and character committee hearing and revealed in front of everybody that she knew he was a fraud when he worked at her firm. And that is grounds for removal from the bar. So she took that risk and she took it happily to make sure that Mike would be able to become a lawyer. And I know that doesn't mean she can't practice law in other states. It was the state of New York that she was going to get disbarred. But that's where you work so hard for so many seasons, up until like seasons like mid-6, I think maybe the end of season 5. We kept hearing about how the firm was her life. The firm was everything for her. She worked up until this point, like to be one of the few female named partners at a big law firm in New York. And she gave that up so that Mike could become a lawyer. This is my disdain for Mike coming out. But every single time that someone had a choice to make where they could advance themselves, and maybe this is me also being selfish, they chose Mike. But I feel like there's other ways to help Mike than by giving up your livelihood. There's other ways to help Mike than by not ruining everything that you have going for yourself. It was all about Mike. To be a lawyer, we're going to have to do everything that we can to make Mike a lawyer. And I actually just thought of another example where like Harvey was willing to sacrifice himself so Mike could get into the bar and then Mike could appeal and get him back into the bar. What? Mike needs to go find another job. That's all I kept thinking about. Like, you cannot put everyone's livelihood at risk just so you can become a lawyer. He was such a brat. And speaking of him being a brat, he continuously bit the hand that fed him. I feel like Harvey was dead wrong for hiring him, knowing he wasn't a lawyer, but that was a huge risk that Harvey took, and he sees himself in Mike, like protege almost. So Mike, being self-righteous and pompous as he is, he kept going at Harvey in ways that just infuriated me. Every time Harvey said don't do something, he went and did it. He went behind Harvey's back. He always made sure that everything was going to work out in his favor. And even after getting back to the law firm, after coming out of prison and getting into the bar where everybody sacrificed themselves so he can get into the bar, he had a list of demands for what it would take for him to come back to work with Harvey. And I know for him, it was like, well, this is a place that I got fired from. This is a place that got me in all this trouble. No accountability on his part. But Harvey just wants to help you. Okay, he keeps extending his hand out to say, come work for me. We're going to make this work. Obviously willing to do whatever it takes to help you achieve your full potential. And Mike continuously, constantly, and repeatedly bites the hand that feeds him. He's always going at Harvey in ways that just don't make sense to me. And if I was Harvey, I would have kicked his ass to the curb a long time ago. He has a little bit too much pep in his step for me. And then finally, the thing that I could not stand, and I know we're supposed to be rooting for the main law firm, Pearson, Spector, and Lit, but they have an audacious amount of hypocrisy in them. They will bend the rules. They will shield each other in their crimes. They will do everything on the unethical side of things. And then when another law firm does something, they make them out to be the bad guy. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe that you would do this. I can't believe you didn't tell me that. I can't believe you didn't do this. Y'all are doing the same thing in your own firm. I never understood that. Like, they were mad at other people for doing things that they do on a regular basis. Donna ripped up some document that she wasn't supposed to. That's illegal. They covered for her. She got fired, but they brought her back. Harvey will hide from somebody or go make a deal or blackmail somebody. They will hide it. Jessica will blackmail somebody. They'll hide it. Mike will go and just F it all up and they will cover for him. But as soon as another firm decides they want to buy a company, not disclose everything, or another firm wants to do something and they cut some corners to get there, they were like, oh my God, I can't believe he would do that. Oh man, yeah, let's go get him. Miss me with the hypocrisy. They are a crooked firm. That's what this firm is. They're just crooked, and I'm surprised that they got as far as they did. This show was absolutely sending me over the edge, y'all. And I know it's just a show, but I feel like it started off really, really strong. It's just been going downhill with the level of unrealism, with the level of like how characters do whatever they want to do, and there's no consequences for their actions.